Welcome back to the Best Facts Apologetics Answers show. Today is going to be a special interview with Dr. Lydia McGrew. I first had the opportunity of getting to know and interviewing Dr. McGrew on the God Solution show, a radio show that I used to host. And ever since then, I've been drawn to some of her work. And her work on undesigned coincidences has been riveting. We'll talk about that in this interview, but we'll talk about more as well. Let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about Dr. McGrew. And this is Dr. Lydia McGrew. She is also married to Dr. Tim McGrew, also an apologist. They both have done incredible work. Dr. Lydia McGrew is a widely published analytic philosopher. She's written many books, blogged, and so much more. She's an author that I definitely look up to. She received her PhD from Vanderbilt in 1995 in English, and she has published extensively in the theory of knowledge and specializing in formal epistemology. She's written a ton of incredible books, like I said. They all focus on the reliability of the Gospels. Now, for those of you that have just been watching our interview with Dr. Fuz Rana, you're familiar with the evolution topic that we dealt with. Now we're jumping to the other end of the apologetical spectrum, talking about the reliability of the Gospels. This is absolutely essential to understand. Let me tell you a little bit about some of her books. She defends the reliability of the Gospel in Hidden in Plain View, Undesigned Coincidences in the Gospels and Acts. This is an absolute masterpiece. I have really appreciated that book. I encourage you to get it at Amazon or wherever you buy books. The Mirror or the Mask, Liberating the Gospels from Literary Devices. This book is part of an ongoing discussion on some very important issues, and she's contributing to a growing field of knowledge in this important area. So I'm thankful for her work and other work that's being done in this area. Then, The Eye of the Beholder, the Gospel of John as historical reportage. Those are some of her books. I encourage you to pick them up at Amazon or wherever you buy books. Dr. Lydia McGrew, it is such an honor to have you on the Best Facts Apologetics Answers show.
Thanks for having me, Nate. It's great to be here.
Welcome. Well, today I want to begin with a question about your 3 books, your blog posts, and some of this. You've written extensively. You also have a YouTube channel. Before I go any further, could you tell our audience how they could find your YouTube channel?
Well, it's just Lydia McGrew, and I hope that you can put maybe a link to that if you have
Absolutely.
any kind of show notes that goes with this to the YouTube channel, so that can just click on that and like and subscribe. But it doesn't have any other name. It's just Lydia McGrew, and you can find it on YouTube. You can also go to lydiamcgrew.com, and there's a link to the YouTube channel from there. There are also samples of my latest book, The Eye of the Beholder, a couple of free PDF samples on there, and pictures of the cover art and that kind of thing right there. And so that's easy to remember, lydiamcgrew.com.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll put that in the video description. So if you're watching, check that out in the video description. All right. Obviously, a common theme in these books is gospel reliability. We mentioned that in the intro. What else do you see tying your work together in this area?
Well, one thing that I see tying it together is that I'm bringing forward new evidences. So you mentioned undesigned coincidences, and that's something that was old. It was being done in the 1700s, but then it kind of, after the 1800s, it kind of got forgotten. And so my husband, Tim McGrew, was really bringing that back, and he introduced me to it, and then I happened to be the one to write the book Hidden in Plain View on that, published in 2017. So they're new in the sense of that people nowadays may not have heard about them. So that's one theme, is that I'm bringing in things that other apologists are not doing as much. They're unique, they're fresh. Another thing is what I say on my YouTube channel. My motto is making common sense rigorous. So what I'm trying to do is to take what you might call is a common sense approach to the Gospels, but then show that that's not just uneducated, that we can actually read them in a very reasonable way. Like, yeah, they're just telling you what really happened, but we can answer objections to that. And that doesn't have to mean we're just uninformed. That's why you take it that way, but it's actually defensible in a rigorous way. And then another thing that I'm doing that's common to all my work is that it tends to be what's called interdisciplinary, because I'm a philosopher and then also now a New Testament scholar. So I'm bringing these together. I have secular publications on, I have a secular publication on undesign coincidences where I don't even talk about the Gospels at all. But then I have, Gospels publications and Gospels writings where I talk about themes in the theory of knowledge, like what does it mean to be ad hoc? What does that mean for a theory to be ad hoc? Or what's independence? What do we mean when we say we have two independent witnesses? And there I'm bringing in my secular work into the Gospels work. So I'm bringing these together, and that gives me a really new perspective. So if somebody says, well, all the New Testament scholars think this, it doesn't automatically mean that I think that. I'm willing to challenge that, but not because I don't know the field, but because I do know it, but I also know another field. So I can use that to illuminate our understanding of the Gospels. And I'm trying to do that as a contribution to apologetics and to Gospel studies and New Testament studies and to the body of Christ.
I think that comprehensive approach is always important. As I've done a lot of ministry, a lot of evangelism, a lot of discipleship, training believers and leaders around the world, I've come to find that many people have the rote answers, but they don't know how to think of these questions comprehensively or coherently. Sometimes they just spit out the first thing that comes to mind, not realizing that doesn't even prove what they're trying to say with that statement. So I appreciate that comprehensive approach to these things. All right, so real quickly, before we go any further in the interview, speak to that person, that young believer or somebody maybe that's new to apologetics, and they feel a little overwhelmed by all that's out there. Or maybe, like the person that I talked to this past week, they feel like they're brand new to this and everyone else is too. Did you know there's a thing called apologetics? And so talk to that person that is maybe just getting into this and they're thinking, why should I believe the Gospels? Why should I be confident that what we read there really happened? We're going to talk more about this today, but quick answer for that person here in the first part of our interview.
Well, I would say for that person, there's no substitute to just picking something and starting to read. And there are several different places that could be. There's no one book or one place that's going to be the best lead-in, but something that will interest you will be the best lead-in. So you could start with my first book, Hidden in Plain View. I think that's pretty user-friendly. Or you could start with a book by Peter J. Williams called Can We Trust the Gospels? And that's even thinner, but he's a real scholar. He's the principal of Tyndale House in England, and yet he makes it so accessible, and that's a really great little book. Or you could start with Cold Case Christianity by J. Warner Wallace. So there's a lot of different ways you could kind of lead in and then take that and then move from there. And one thing I would say is find one or two things to say that you can make your own, and that you're ready if someone asks you that question, you're ready to give an answer. If an unbeliever says, why should I believe these documents? They're just books. You don't have to know everything, but know something so that you're not left just standing there without anything to say, and you can start there and have something to say, and then you can always learn more.
1 Peter 3:15 commands us to always be ready to give an answer. So thank you, Dr. McGrew. We should always be ready to say something. So do your homework. Well, this was just the first part of my interview with Dr. McGrew. We're going to go through 7 other questions with her in this series. You'll have a lot more to learn on this topic in some of those upcoming videos. Definitely don't miss those.